please tell us more about yourself.
Sure, thank you for having me. So, hi everyone. My name is Amy Augustine, and I'm the Senior Director of Network Supply Chain at US Cellular. So, I've been in this role about 3 years, and I have responsibility from everything from strategic sourcing and procurement to warehousing and logistics to inventory operations and planning and forecasting. So, I own the whole supply chain for our network, which means anything that goes into building, maintaining our wireless towers and infrastructure.
Wow, that's so many functions that you are taking care of, and I am super sure it must be a very, very challenging role. So, you have led a major organizational build out, as you just told us. What is one of the most significant leadership lessons that you learned during this transformation?
I think for me is talking to your associates and asking them what they're interested in. When I was put in this position, I had to build out a supply chain operations team, and I had a really strong group of 6 associates that I needed to place into new roles. And what I wanted to do is not just place them where I thought they should be, but I took into account what they were interested in learning, what they were interested in doing in their future career. And it led to a very fruitful discussion and allowed me to put them in roles where they were very successful and where it helped the overall team be successful. And so for me, that was a really lesson learned where I hadn't done that in the past, and where I absolutely will do that in the future is, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What are you interested in? Before just placing somebody in a role. I think having that conversation and asking those questions is very important.
Wow. And Amy, setting up a whole supply chain team itself sounds like a very important, major, and a stressful task, I believe. So, congratulations that you are able to pull it off so beautifully. And your 2024 Change Leadership and Digital Age session emphasized starting with people and not just tech. And from what you just told us, I believe you definitely focus way too much on people. So, what are the first steps to take when you're introducing a new digital tool or a process in a team?
I think for me is the change management piece. Like you talked about the people. You can implement a tool and process, but it's not going to be successful unless you have buy-in from the people who are actually going to use or do that process. And for me, and why I gave that presentation and it was so very much well received, was it also is about being vulnerable yourself, right? As a leader, right? When I talked to my team about the journey we were going to take, it was, yes, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to wobble, but we're going to learn together, right? And we're all going to have each other's backs, and it's going to be okay. And that's part of change, it's part of learning, it's part of life. And so I think, a lesson learned out of that too is being open and honest with your people and letting them voice their concerns and listen to them, and then being open with them like, yes, we're going to wobble, we're going to have mistakes, but you know what? If you have a solid change management plan, you communicate not only with your associates but with your stakeholders, you're going to have a very successful implementation because you're going to get buy-in from everybody.
Wow. Okay, that does definitely sounds very interesting and something I'm listening for the first time. You have spoken and written about 5G, how it can reshape supply chain and transformation forecasting and planning. What exactly is it, and where do you see the most immediate opportunities for it?
Yeah, 5G is just, like next we're going to go to 6G. But for me, when we were
Mhm.
talking about 5G and then being in the supply chain that has to support it out, is how can we think about ways that we could use 5G to help the supply chain? And I think you see a lot of this now with these AI tools and sensors and IoT and tracking of this and tracking of that. And that's all being powered by Wi-Fi and 5G and cellular networks, right? Like
Mhm.
there's not a standard internet, right? Even
True.
our planes, right? Like satellites is helping us. And so really 5G allows the connectivity that is needed across the supply chain. And really, when my team talked about it, like how important it is for us as the supply chain that is going to build out the 5G, right, or help our engineers build out, then how do we understand how it can be used in the greater supply chain? And that to me is the whole connectivity piece.
Wow. What do you think? How should the leaders be preparing for it?
I think leaders should think about supply chain and supply chain strategy in a couple different facets. So number one is come up with your strategy, right? What's your near-term plan, midterm plan, and long-term plan? Where do you have to take your supply chain? What is it going to take to get it there? What kind of flexibility do you need? So if the business is growing, your supply chain can flex with those ebbs and flows of the business, right? And so really it starts with putting down your strategy. Then I think it's looking at this technical roadmap of and kind of ecosystem of what's available of tools that can help your supply chain, right? And think about creativity even, is it something I can build in house using SharePoint or Power BI? Or even, for example, using Chat GPT to build your forecasting models, right? Without don't put your company's data in there, but you could absolutely run the model and come up with different ways in Chat GPT. So really coming up with those creative solutions that are going to make your path on your roadmap to your end game much more successful.
Okay, that's actually a very beautiful way how you explained it, that people can actually create their roadmap for the implementation in future. One of
Mhm.
the most amazing things that I read about your link, one of your sessions was the real housewives of supply chain who are tackling finance, family, and anxiety. So, how do we actually create a safe space for real conversations like these, and why are they so important?
So that absolutely was a safe space for that conversation.
True.
Um, and it wasn't just females in the room. We did have one male in the room.
Mhm.
But I think for females, I think it's being able to be open and honest with each other and ask for advice. And so, one of the great conversations we had in there was, when do you get a financial advisor, right? So some people are like, I've never had one. I've had one since my early 20s.
Mhm.
And it was something my father instilled me. He's like, if you didn't major in money management, that you're not an expert in it, Amy. You need to
Mhm.
have somebody who it is to help you. And so I think having some of those open and
Mhm.
honest questions and dialogues to help women kind of share their
Mhm.
experiences and what they've done can only make us more powerful, right? And we had a lot of conversations about what it is to be a working mother or a working caregiver, right? So maybe I'm no longer a mother, but I'm taking care of elderly parents, right? And a different set of issues arise with that. And so I think with more of these conferences and women's groups that they can create these safe spaces where women come together and just share experiences is so powerful because there's so much learning in it.
Definitely, Amy. And if you don't mind, what exactly was your personal journey that made you come up with speaking about it so loudly?
So I'm on the advisory board of that conference that came up with
Mhm.
that, and they were toying around with ideas, and they
Mhm.
actually they said it would be really cool if we got this, like the women together and had a conversation, and through some back and forth, we came up with that title and just kind of that whole concept of, let's just get in a room, have some wine, and let's talk about the things that are on our mind and the important things as we as women leaders need to take into
Mhm.
account of, not just in our professional lives, but also
Yeah.
in our personal lives.
Mhm. Amy, you have shared a very innovative talent strategy for dealing with the labor shortage that is coming in the supply
Mhm.
chain sector globally. What's one approach that you're really, really proud of that other teams could adopt immediately?
Yeah, so I was having a really tough time filling one of the roles on one of my teams.
Mhm.
And I'm a big proponent of, if I find good talent, And even if they leave the company for whatever reason, if I have a role, I might go back and tap on them and be like, hey, do you want to come back?
Mhm.
In this case, it was a mom that had left to be a stay-at-home mom while her kids were really young. And we approached her in, like, let's call it May,
Mhm.
and she wanted to have the summer for her
Mhm.
kids and then work full time when they went back to school. And so
Mhm.
we came up with this innovative approach of, well, I can't wait that long, right? But I
Yes.
really want to hire you. So I went to
Yes.
HR and I'm like, how can we do this part time? So her kids are going
Yes.
to camp. How do we
Mhm.
make this that it's good for her and good for us? And we end up with a full time employee
Yes.
after the
Mhm.
summer. And so it took a lot of fighting
Yes.
with HR, but they finally agreed to it. And we got her on where she worked part time and then came on full time
Oh,
after
wow.
that. And I think it's a different way of thinking about
Yes.
talent and supporting people is if you find a good candidate but maybe they can't commit till this date or that date, or they just want part-time to begin with, have
Yes.
that flexibility, especially in this labor market, to
Yes.
kind of win over the candidate, and hopefully they say yes because you're giving them that flexibility of
Mhm.
what they need at that point in time in their life.
Definitely, Amy. And that does sound like a need, I would say, because there are so many moms and working women who are willing to work, but due to some family constraints or due to some health issues, maybe they're not able to. And the lack of flexibility, I feel, is the issue where they are forced to take breaks or like a long-term break, which they might be supportive of. And no, the maternity leaves and there are actually a proper concept now, but what about these leaves that we don't talk about when you have kids but they're not in the extremely young stage but they're still in the growing stage and the mom needs to take care. So thank you,
Yep.
Amy, for bringing that to light for all of the people who are listening. And you have turned reverse logistics into $1 million plus revenue source within 6 months. Firstly, I would want you to tell us what exactly is reverse logistics so each and everyone around us can learn, and how can supply chain leaders reframe reverse flow from cost burdens into business opportunities?
Yes, so reverse logistics is basically returns, right? I call it
Mhm.
the fancy way of returns. And
Uh-huh.
so a lot of companies, right, like we don't think about reverse logistics as something in the forefront. And it's kind of like I call it the company's dirty little secret. It's kind of the cost of doing business, right? It's returns. It's returns management. How do I get the returns from the consumer to the warehouse, or the consumer to the store to the warehouse? And then it's, what do you do with that stuff, right? Once it comes back. And so that's what, reverse logistics is.
Wow, okay. That sounds interesting. So, Amy, how exactly do supply chain leaders make like put that to your advantage? Like even simplifying it even further, how exactly would we do it? So, because I'm extremely fresh and new to the sector, I love the way you explained it, but at the same time I'm like, but how?
So if you think about it, reverse logistics, there's a return authorization order created, right? So the customer gets their money back or their credit, right? Then the product comes to the warehouse. It has to be received into the warehouse. Then, in the case of when I ran reverse logistics, we did a cosmetic inspection on the phones and accessories, and
Wow.
that helped us to understand what disposition it was going to get. Were we going to reuse it for our insurance programs, then run it through our test and repair line? If we had demand for it, did I sell it on, or did I send it to my partner who had like the eBay website to sell it? Did we sell it as a certified pre-owned device, right?
Mhm.
And that allowed, like, that cosmetic
Yeah.
inspection allowed us to make educated and good decisions on what to do with the product to recoup as much money as we possibly could. Because, right,
Wow.
reverse logistics is a cost, right? So you sold that item to a customer, you can't put it back on the shelf, right? So then it comes back to the warehouse, and it's all about velocity, time, and money. And so the longer it takes that return to get through your process and back out the door, repositioned into a secondary life, the less money the company's able to recoup. And so that was kind of our premise when we put the whole strategy together was how fast can I get this stuff back? And then how fast once it's back can I figure out what's its next life, right? And turn that into profit versus it's sitting in a box for 6 months gathering dust and then I lose a bunch of equity in it, right? So that's really how I think about reverse logistics. It's getting that product back and figuring out what are we going to do with it, because I absolutely don't want to put it in a landfill, right? I don't want to throw it
Definitely.
out.
Yeah. And that does sound like a very waste management way as well. Can I put it that
Mhm.
way? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Perfect. So, and that is definitely so good, not only for the company, but also for the environment. So, as you said, the advantages of making proper decisions also comes out of it. So,
Yep.
Amy, for a girl like me who's just starting up in the sector, doesn't have any professional experience yet, what advice would you give me that I should keep in mind before entering the sector?
So I would say number one,
Yeah.
network. So
Okay.
you use LinkedIn, reach out
Mhm.
to people. I mean, I have students all the time ping me on LinkedIn. Can I have a 30-minute conversation just to
Yeah.
learn about what you do? Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's hugely important too. Be open and flexible about opportunities that come your way, right?
Mhm.
And so not everything has to be like I climb the corporate ladder and I'm getting a promotion. Sometimes you need to go lateral and
Mhm.
get like breadth of experience and not just depth. And especially in supply chain, like
Mhm.
you might say I love logistics, but hey, I'm going to go do this procurement role for a year and understand that because at the end of the day, it's going to make you a much more stronger supply
Mhm.
chain professional.
True. And like the way I understand supply chain right now, it's in the word, it's a chain. So the
Mhm.
more diverse your experiences, I think it's better rather than building on one role for many years. Did I
Yeah,
understand it correct? Yeah.
correct. Mhm.
Oh my God, I'm so glad. And if I'm talking in terms of having that confidence that I belong in the sector, because as my main idea with this podcast is, many people like me have been told that it's a male dominated sector. Are you sure you want to enter it? That does fill our mind with imposter syndrome, that hey, yeah, like they might be right with if I even belong here. So what exactly would your advice be for me to keep in mind to not feel that imposter syndrome?
Yeah, it's funny because my undergrad degree is in engineering, and when I
Oh
went to
wow.
school for engineering, I was like one of two women in a lot of my classes, and I didn't even back then think about it, right? Like it was
Yeah.
engineering was such a male dominated field.
Mhm.
Um, I would say with people saying that supply chain is male dominated, I think things are changing. And I'll give you an example. I'm on the board of directors for the Association for Supply Chain Management. Over 50% of the board members were female, right? So very, very different, right? And so
Yeah.
I think supply chain is one of those industries that women can thrive in. And so instead of saying, hey, I have imposter syndrome, is I can do this, I'm going to be great at it, and I'm going to grow my career and change your thinking of I don't belong here. How did I get this job? Is no, I nailed that interview. I got this job and I'm going to own it, right? And so
Yeah.
I think it's a way of shifting your
True.
mind, and that's kind
Yeah.
of how I've been my whole career. It's
Mhm.
not so much imposter like I
Yeah.
don't belong here. It's no, I got this job. I'm going to rock it now, and I'm going to prove to
True.
you why I was the best hire.
Wow. Okay. I love the attitude. I'm definitely gonna take that. I'm gonna start saying it to myself that I belong here and I deserve it. It's just the fact that it's not even us feeling that way. Like when I thought of taking the specialization, I didn't think it was that bad. But the people, the way they make you believe that it's a male dominated sector, and I believe they are definitely coming from the point of view of concern that corporate in itself is not easy. You got to pave your way into corporate. And then when you say it's a male dominated sector, it's like you're just going to increase your own struggles. It's just their concern, but at the same time, it's not impossible. So for me, the way I'm seeing it is I'm talking to all beautiful, awesome, successful women like you, so that my brain tells me, see, if they can do it, then you are also going to be on the list soon.
No, and that's exactly the right approach to take, right? Like, and so when you think about like even mentorship, right?
Yeah.
For me, I've
Mhm.
had fantastic mentors, both male and female, but
Mhm.
it's definitely some of the female mentors that have
Yeah.
helped me really
Mhm.
hone my positive attitude and
Yeah.
say, you know what, I can do this job, I belong here, and then I'm going to go prove it to everyone that I can do it,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely, Amy. Amy, do you think there are any specific changes that need to be made in the sector which are like mainly serving specific needs of women which are not subjected? I'm not sure if I am clear. Was it clear, or should I like put it in a better way?
Put it in a better way for me. I think I know what you're
Mhm.
asking me,
Yeah.
so
So it's like so the maternity leave. So that idea also, it wasn't like it was always there.
mhm.
We evolved with that idea over the time that yes, women are special. Now, when we talk about menstruations, like women do need, some women bodies function differently. Some women really need rest. They need those hot water bags and they need food and everything to survive that time span of 5 days or
Mhm,
7 days.
mhm.
And it is still in talks that I've from the news, but other than that, are there any specific needs of women that really need to be spoken about and need to be addressed in the sector?
So I'll say this. I
Yeah.
think
Hmm.
I'll share like when I
Yeah.
my son's adopted, so I wasn't eligible for maternity leave, right? I didn't get any paid off paid time off. Everything that I took was unpaid, right? And believe me, the world has come a long way in 10 years, and now there's
Yeah.
paternity leave and everything. What I
Definitely.
really think people need and companies need is this flexibility concept. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of them have kind of morphed that way since
Yeah.
COVID, right? And
Definitely.
so have women, especially women, having the flexibility of, I have a sick kid today, right? Instead of in the past, right? Like you would take a sick day off, right? To take
Yeah.
care of your kid. But now with Teams and Zoom and everything else, like you can work from home. It's not like you're
Exactly.
tending to your kid, right? And I
Yeah.
think that that's the type of thinking we need in corporate America. And it,
Hmm.
not just for women, I think also for men, right? Like my husband and I,
Definitely.
we try to split our duties up. It's the
Definitely.
same thing. Like I'm not feeling very well today, but it
Hmm.
doesn't mean I can't sit here and work. But I don't want to go in the office because I don't want to
Yeah.
get everyone exposed to whatever germs I picked up, right, at my
Yeah.
son's soccer game. And I think it's that flexibility piece that if more companies embrace that, I think they're going to see productivity go up, right? I
Hmm.
think they're going to see employees wanting to stay with companies a long time. And
True.
just even from like me as a leader, like is really about making sure that everyone feels supported. And if there is some life event or something going on, that
Hmm.
my team knows they have the flexibility to go take care of things. I mean, my whole motto is like, work is always going to be there, family is not, right? And so if you have some type of issue in your family, you need to go deal with that. We'll take care of work, right? And so that's kind of the mentality that I lead
Yeah.
with.
Wow, Amy. And that's exactly the kind of answer that I was looking for. It did suffice what I was looking forward to. And I totally agree. And it is true, like even men, there are times they're just poor men. They're expected to be super strong and just deal with everything. Yeah, I think we really need to start taking care of them as well. We don't want them to feel neglected by any way either. So it is
Yep.
indeed important. And thank you so much for enlightening us today with your kind words, with your excitement and your ideas. It was really, really great talking to you.
Thank you for having me on.